Hello, beautiful listener. This is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while giggling, regaling you with anecdotes, and swooning over love stories. This week, we're going to start with a podcast shout-out. The Black Romance Podcast features conversations with Black writers, editors, and scholars of romance fiction with the goal of creating an oral history of Black romance. In absolutely amazing interviews, guests talk to host Judy Moody Freeman about a range of experiences, their difficulties in trying to publish love stories with Black characters, their favorite books, writing and teaching about Black romance, traditional versus self-publishing, publishing queer romance, the impetus for writing books that focus on inclusion and uplifting racial themes, and more. The intergenerational voices of writers and industry professionals you're going to hear from are building a much-needed archive on the production and publication of Black romance. So far, Julie has interviewed Sandra Kitt, Brenda Jackson, Beverly Jenkins, and the Vivian Stevens, with more romance giants to come. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts and follow her on Twitter at BLK_romance. I cannot wait for you to hear this podcast. All right, now we've got a fabulous new release for you. You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. Here we go. Hi, Erin.
Hey, Mel.
How are you?
Good.
Yeah?
Great.
Oh,
Good.
are you feeling
Awesome.
good?
Yes.
Are you feeling great about today?
Sí, por supuesto.
Oh! Erin's
I'm
gonna
so
be
ready.
such a show-off during this episode. Just FYI, HBs.
Más o menos. I was a Spanish major, but I was bad at it. Often I would read Spanish out loud in class, and then Senora Portocarrero would say, good, and now in Spanish. And I would say it was in Spanish. How are you?
No.
I've heard that you're a big celebrity now.
Oh, well, I
heard
say
that you were a big voice actress celebrity now.
I'm a bit of a voice actress now. Yeah.
Have you been dealing with a lot of paparazzi, a lot of requests for interviews and gossip columns like we saw in this book?
I'm shocked I still have a front door. If I'm being honest with you, they've just been beating it down. You
Really?
know?
I'm shocked you're still on this podcast,
Oh.
to be honest with you. I mean, this is small beans in comparison to what you're doing these days, you know?
Everybody, I recorded an audiobook and I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Tell us all about it. Tell us everything.
Okay, well, it is called All at Once by Brill Harper, narrated by Melody Carlisle. And and it is it's a menage between two cowboys who grew up together and the college student that they hire to be their housekeeper over the summer. And it is awesome. Like the book, I loved the book. Start to finish, I loved it. She's a virgin, and I not only
let's get
didn't
the tropes
hate
out.
it. Okay,
we've got virgin, we've got menage. Do swords cross in the menage?
swords cross. Yeah,
Nice.
It's got one of the best epilogues, in my humble opinion, that I've ever seen. You better listen to that epilogue, Erin. Okay, and then, so it's best friends. It's a friends to lovers / employees.
The cowboys, are they already lovers when college girl comes in? No, they fall in love. Ooh.
They're best friends. And over the course of the novel, they realize that they've loved each other all their lies. They just didn't have the tools to express it.
They did have the tools to express it, and I bet they did.
Oh, boy, do they. Yeah, some of my favorite scenes are when the boys have to really put down their defenses and take the leap and just go down on each other or something. You know? It's great stuff. Yeah. So, All at Once by Brill Harper, narrated by Melody Carlisle. It's a big excite. Oh!
Can I tell you a story about my preparation for... Oh my God, Melody.
What's up?
I am still wearing a bra from earlier when I did a presentation. I'm an idiot.
It off.
God. Ugh,
be done with that bra.
Ugh.
Get
All
it
right,
gone,
taking
girl.
that off. Oof.
There you go.
I was wondering what was wrong. I just felt bad.
Yeah.
That's gone. All right.
Erin has been liberated.
Oh. My preparation for reading this book.
Yeah.
So I didn't read this very fast. We're gonna record Friday, and then when we pushed it back, I was like, oh, I have so much more reading time, and then I didn't. And last night I was like not very far in, and David's out of town, and he was telling me that he is at a hotel that has free drinks.
What?
Yeah.
Explain that.
And I know in quarantines, listen, I get it. It's a necessary trip, but they bring you free drinks at the hotel that he's in. They just come to him.
Oh,
and I was
God.
very jealous of this situation, being home. And so I drank a cider, and it
Erin,
hurt me.
Your
Oh,
intolerance.
God. I know, and it hurt me, and I felt hot and bad, and
Erin,
my tummy felt bad, and I had a
for you.
headache. It killed me, yes.
Why do you even have cider in your house?
Well, so then I texted David. Did I send you the screenshot of my text to David? So I texted David, and I was like, I drank a cider, and I feel bad. And he was like, oh, no, you're intolerant. And I was like, why do you even have cider in this house? You shouldn't even have it here. You know I'm allergic to it. It's like when the dogs got into butter that time because we left it on the table. Like, you shouldn't have it. It shouldn't be out. It's
true.
your fault that I got into it. And he was just like, no, this is definitely your fault. Anyway, so I was messaging with some HBs about my cider problem, and I sent a picture of me like reaching out in a death rattle, being like, cider is killing me, and please send, if you have the opportunity, please read all of You Had Me at Hola, and then send notes on each of the chapters, and also like a few jokes and maybe some banter. And then so HB Holly, HB Bethany, Clippy, Allie, like Jackie was part of it. They all got together and they started reading the book and sending me notes, and then I felt like an asshole. I'm like, no, this is my job. I was kidding, it was a joke. But then they started sending fake plot points, like, oh man, when Ashton got his hand bit off by that velociraptor, it was crazy, like hoping that I would be like, Melody, how about this part when Anyway, so I just thought I'd shout out. These HBs are so
They're
devout.
wonderful.
They were prepared to read the book
and do your homework for you.
Right? Yeah, like write jokes for me so that you wouldn't fire me from podcasts.
I mean, bless them, as if we write jokes, you know?
Yeah. And like when we do a joke that is like a complete joke that like comes back around and is a full joke,
we're
we
so
applaud
impressed with ourselves.
Yeah. We literally clap. All right.
Oh my gosh, I loved this book. I loved every
this book.
Single moment of this book. Everybody, okay, no, stop the podcast right now. Listener, I'm talking to you. You listen to me right now.
Yeah.
It's just you and me right now. Erin's not even here anymore.
Oh, okay.
I'm having a private moment with listener.
Sorry. Let me know how she is.
If you have not read this book, turn this off. Go read this book. Request it from your library. Buy it from whoever you need to. Order it from Love Sweet Arrow or The Ripped Bodice. Do what you have to do. You get this book in your brain. Do it.
Es la verdad. Necesitas leerlo.
What Erin said. Okay.
now.
Hello, Erin. You're welcome back. Hello. You came early.
Here I am. Whoops.
This book is so good.
It was so good, and it's so, it's snippy, snappy, frothy, short.
Still very deep.
It's the antidote. Whatever you just read, was that Midnight Sun? Whatever it is. This is the best book to get over your reading slump.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's easy. It goes down so easy. And I can't remember, when was the last book we read? Like, okay, listen. Act Like It was fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved Act Like It.
It was.
But there wasn't any, like, on-page, like, sex.
Uh-huh. And there is
this one has at least 3 really sexy sex scenes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, this was when was the last time we just read, like, a good, solid contemporary with, like, really hot on-page sex? It's been a while.
I can't think of one at the moment. I think the last one on the podcast was probably The Right Swipe by Alicia Rye, but that was you and Cole.
That was so long ago.
And it was so long ago, yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to shit on Act Like It, which was a really good book. But this just felt like it gave me my life back after Midnight Sun.
Yes, because Act Like It, yada yada, and all the sex. It was it was beautifully written, even though it was yada yada. But you know us, listener.
Yeah,
we're dirty birds. Okay.
Well, and I do feel like this felt really extra good after that drought of Midnight Sun.
Oh boy,
like it was the first cool glass of water.
I know. I was so parched, Erin.
For so
my throat
long.
was burning.
Yeah,
and then my pants were sort of burning, but it was a new sensation and it was not, I couldn't understand.
I can't go with you on the rest of this metaphor.
It wasn't a good burning.
My part of the metaphor was when we were thirsty and this was a cool sip of water. The pants burning metaphor is just for Melody and listener. I'm not here.
But this week we've got You Had Me at Hola by Alexis, Daria. Okay. We've got Jasmine. Chapter 1.
Chapter 1.
Jasmine's at her abuela's house in the Bronx.
Yes.
And she's looking on her goddamn abuelita's refrigerator. And that traitor, I'm sorry, if my Nana ever had a tabloid of me that said dumped just because I looked quote unquote pretty, no, abuela.
I kind of love it because she's just
I do
you look
too.
fantastic in that photo. Because like the feelings that Jasmine has about being like played and dumped by this rock star, which is what happened. Abuela's just like, it's no big deal. You know, like she knows who Jasmine is and she knows she's fantastic and looks fantastic in this photo and she doesn't give a shit what the tabloids say. And I kind of like that about her.
I do. I loved it too. I just think it's really funny to call a grandmother a traitor.
Yeah, I agree. She's hanging out with her cousins.
Yes,
Ava.
Her wonderful cousins.
And
Can
the
I
other
just say,
one, Michelle.
Not only is there hot sex. Michelle and Ava. Yeah. This is also a big, giant lady love.
It is.
Big, giant lady love.
This thing manages to have, like, lady loves and, like, kids and family and also, like, conquering hard issues. And also, like, it has everything you want. And somehow it's packaged up into this little short and sweet romance. It's great.
Yeah, and like, super sexy, too. Did we mention that? Anyway.
Yeah, we did. We mentioned it.
They go down to the basement because that's where they hang out. They've hung out there since childhood. That's sort of like their safe haven against the world. So they're hanging out down there, drinking wine out of plastic cups. My favorite thing in the world.
Yes. They're making a plan.
Because Jasmine was just dumped by a rock star. And she found out via the tabloids.
She found out through the tabloids that he was dating another lady that looks just like her.
Right.
Oof.
And of course, the tabloids are spinning it to be like, she's so desperate. She can't hold a man.
Why does Jasmine suck so bad? Is she stinky? It's like what the tabloids are like. Why is she boring and bad?
Yeah,
I love that. I mean, I don't love that, but I feel like it's a hilarious way to start a romance novel.
Absolutely. So she's down there and she's like, ladies, I've got a plan. It's called the Leading Lady Plan.
Well, because, she's got a new job.
Yes.
And she already knows that she has this new job. And she's going to be, so it's a Netflix version of a...
It's an American remake of a telenovela.
Yeah, right. I don't remember the country of origin of the telenovela.
Neither
but
do I.
It's a remake. Kind of like, so if you've watched Reina del Sur or... They said Jane the Virgin. Was Jane the Virgin originally a telenovela?
I don't know. I mean, it draws heavily.
But they also said Ugly Betty, which was also an English version of a telenovela. So it's like, okay, Netflix is getting on this train of like, these are kind of taking off and this is like a thing that works. And so now they're going to do this kind of like half English, half in Spanish remake of this telenovela. And here it's called Carmen in Charge. And it's about a PR specialist. And it's like Empire. It's like their family and they're running this PR firm. And she's Carmen. Who's in charge.
She's the title character. Eee!
She's going to be a leading lady. And so she needs to make a plan for her life so that she can like live up to her new role as a leading lady.
That's right. And so that she can make her dreams come true, you guys. And so the first one is leading ladies. The first rule is leading ladies are only in tabloids for good reasons. So like no bad breakups, no craziness. Like, I don't know how you get into a tabloid for a good reason. I feel like the rule should be don't be in tabloids.
No, it says don't, it says that leading lady, she says something like leading ladies don't end up in tabloids or something like that. And then the cousin is like, no, we need to frame these. I can't wait for this cousin's book, the one that's like positive.
I know.
She's like, you need to frame these positively and things that you can like control.
That's what it was.
You it shouldn't be based on negative things. So you need to say leading ladies only end up on magazine covers for good reasons.
Yes.
So like, because you're out there accomplishing things. So that's rule number 1.
I love Ava. I'm very excited. I hope she gets a book. Okay. The next one is leading ladies don't need a man to be happy. And of course they reframe it and they say leading ladies are whole and happy on their own. Ooh!
Yes.
And then the third one, they turn it into leading ladies are badass queens making heffa moves. Oh,
hot.
It's so
Boss
hot.
bitch energy. It's going to be the best. So that's her plan.
Yes.
And then her phone rings. And it turns out that the love interest that was going to be cast for Carmen in Charge, which is Carmen's ex-husband who comes back in the picture, who's like a rock star that needs PR help.
Oh, he's a rock star bad boy. He's a bad boy rock star.
Somehow the leading man, the actor, has like fallen and like broken all of his bones. He tripped and fell.
He did a big fall. Mm-hmm.
He tripped and fell not skiing in Aspen and broke all of his bones.
Yep.
Which I thought was very funny. But when they said that he wasn't skiing because it was summertime, I thought he was mountain biking because one time David mountain biked and broke all his bones in a ski resort in the summer. Did I tell you that?
No, that's a very David thing to do, though.
Oh, gosh. And it was like 2 hours before we had to go for a wedding. He didn't break all his bones, but he got real beat up. And we kept he kept putting on shirts and then like bleeding through all the shirts. And we were like bandaging his whole torso to like make sure the blood didn't come through. It was a mess. And we were pretty sure he had a concussion. He couldn't lift his arms above his head all night. It was rough. Anyway, it was fine. We went to the hospital after the wedding and he was fine.
There you go.
So anyway, so he's out. He's out and somebody else is in. Our hero, Ashton Suarez,
the El Duque de Amor, the golden lion. They say so many of his roles. He's the new sheriff in town, you guys. And it's very exciting. He also did play a sheriff.
He's like a veteran telenovela actor. He's had all these leading roles on telenovelas. Even though his last one, I guess he was like killed off early. He was the villain.
El hombre seductor.
And he is their grandmother's favorite actor.
In like all the world.
Yes.
And it is very exciting. And so they're planning her 80th birthday party. And it's supposed to be after Carmen raps. And so they're like, you have to get Ashton Suarez to come to Abuela's 80th birthday. You have to. And she's like, I can't. Like, that's a lot to ask of a person, let alone a coworker. And they're like, you have to. So she agrees to try. They say, this is very important, they say that they will let her out of all party planning duties if she gets him to agree.
Which I think is a big deal, because I was just kind of like, so what, like buying the decorations or something? No, you guys, this party is like really serious.
It's like a wedding.
Yeah, like when it gets to the end, it's like there's flower arrangements. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Also, in this conversation, it's dropped. So Jasmine
she's a soap opera actor.
She speaks some Spanish, but not a lot.
Yeah, because her mom is Filipina and her dad is Puerto Rican.
Yes.
And so her mom doesn't speak Spanish, and Spanish was her dad's first language, but because the only language they had in common was English, at their house, they always spoke English. And so she picked up a little bit of Spanish from her grandparents, but she's not as fluent as a lot of people who have Spanish-speaking parents and grandparents.
And she's self-conscious about the show because, like, a lot of the lines in the show are in Spanish, and she's worried she's going to get nervous and not pronounce things right, that kind of thing.
All right. So then, chapter 2, guess who we get to meet? Hello, Ashton.
Is it Ashton Suarez, the
Hello,
hero?
Mr. Suarez. El León Dorado.
Don't you think it's weird that he has dark hair? When they said that he was a León Dorado, I was like, oh, he's going to have like...
That's a golden lion,
blonde,
you guys.
Golden locks, right? Like, wouldn't you think?
I don't know. I don't know anything about him.
That's what I thought.
Turns
but then he has dark hair.
He's got
dark,
super
curly
dark
hair.
Oh, it's curly.
Hot.
And he's got these deep, deep eyes. And he's worried. He has just shown up to the Screenflix Studios.
Yes.
He needs to find his way onto a brand new, like, basically studio lot. And he's been in telenovelas for a lot of years. And he was hoping that telenovelas were going to be his, like, breakout. But he spent a lot of years just, like, in that industry instead. And so now he's
older. He's like 40 and she's like
38. He's 38.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's hoping that Carmen in Charge is going to be his jumping off point, his
yes,
his rocket ship breakthrough role.
I really like it when you just make the motion of a rocket ship, though, and go on this audio medium.
I have been spending a lot of time with toddlers. So he's hoping that this is going to be his breakthrough role that gets him into Hollywood and like really amps up his career. So he's nervous. He's used to being a big fish in a small pond. And then this PA, I think, a PA.
Because he's coming from Miami and she's coming from LA. So neither of them live in New York City and they're staying at a hotel.
At the
same
Court
hotel.
Hotel on the east side, you guys. It's a extended stay hotel.
Snazzy. Although her family lives there, she had lived in LA to do the soap operas. Okay.
Right. Okay. So I also really, really loved the inclusivity, like the effortless inclusivity in this book, because I think the person is a PA, but they come up and
like
there's
assistant maybe or something like that.
Well, production assistant is PA.
They get him coffee, is why I thought.
Yeah.
Right?
So they show up and on their lapel is a pin that just says they, them. And it's perfect. And so immediately Ashton is like, yeah, they led me to blah, 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 blah. He asks for coffee. So they take him to like the green room area and he's going to make his probably 8th coffee of the morning because he's very nervous. And it says that like he does 2 workouts a day and watches his diet.
Yeah, it does.
So that he can have those abs. Dick.
All he's got on is like the cloth she wrapped around his ribs. And that's it.
And then also indulge in his favorite thing in the world, which is a coffee with tons of cream and sugar.
So much cream and sugar.
Tons.
Very sticky. It's a sticky coffee.
Yeah, he basically likes a warm milkshake in the morning.
Right. I have to say, he's Googled her. And he has identified her as a sexy woman.
Yes.
Already via the Google. And then he also found out about the McIntyre rock star cheating on scandal, and he's concerned that she's like maybe too in the gossip papers sort of thing.
Yeah.
He likes to stay out of the tabloids as much as possible, keep to himself, stay in, keep his family life secret. And so he's kind of worried that she's going to make the show like a spectacle, and that's not what he wants.
And in the previous chapter, we found out that there's rumors going around that like he's a diva, like he doesn't like to interact with the crew or the cast.
Right.
He's very aloof and distances himself from all production stuff when like the cameras aren't rolling. So he's making his coffees. And he's got his coffee. He's about to turn around. He hears something right behind him, and so he turns around.
He slips on an ice cube.
Is that what happens?
It says his heel connected with something that wasn't the floor, and then like a couple sentences later, it references ice cubes on the floor. So I assumed it was an ice cube. I thought that's what it was. But maybe it's that he spilled the ice cubes. It says something about his heel connected with something not linoleum.
Yeah. Well, he turns around and he knocks into her. She's holding an iced cold brew coffee. And it goes everywhere.
Guys, this outfit she was wearing sounded so nice. It's like a silk white, a very delicate silk white blouse with pale pink pants.
Oh.
And like earrings and red lipstick, because her abuela told her when she was young that if she wasn't wearing lipstick and earrings, she may as well be naked. So she is always wearing lipstick and earrings, which very much reminded me of your friend and mine, Tanya Melendez.
That's right.
But like she is all the way put together for her first, it's like she's the star of this show. She has really put herself together for this very first table read, and now it is fucked. And then he tries to make a joke in Spanish, like, "Oh, were you going to drink that?"
Yeah. And
she doesn't really respond, because like she's covered in sticky, milky coffee.
She's just covered in black coffee. His coffee is fine.
I thought he spilled both coffees on her, no?
No, because then he offers her his coffee.
Oh, right.
And she tries to drink it, and she can't handle the milkshake factor.
In my brain, I remember that now. In my brain, just now going through it, I was like, oh my God, that coffee must have been so sticky. So sugary and so milky. But no, okay, so just the black coffee, I guess. And she doesn't respond to his joke in Spanish, partly because she doesn't, it doesn't click right away because she doesn't speak that much Spanish.
Yeah, she has to, spend time translating it in her brain. And also, she's so stunned by what just happened. And so then he's rough. Oh no, it seems like she didn't understand what I said. And then she looks at me and she goes, is that supposed to be a joke? Because, you just covered me in coffee, dude. And he's like, it was obviously a bad joke. And then he tries to offer her his coffee. And then so she's like, okay, I guess, and tries to take a drink. And she's like, oh my God, I cannot drink this. This is a dessert. This is crazy. So then she hands that back to him. And then she's like, I guess I got to go find a change of clothes. See ya never.
Bye. But she does, before she leaves, identify him as a sexy man. She has the time somehow to identify him.
Well, I'm sorry, Erin. His sexy is overpowering.
Yes.
There's
Would you like to hear about
it? I would.
Ashton. She drank him in as if he were a steaming cappuccino on a cold day, her body warming from the inside despite his inadvertent ice bath. Dark curly hair, the shadow of a beard, tan skin, and sexy dark brown eyes. He seemed even taller in person and more magnetic, like a behemoth of a planet tugging her into his orbit. She felt drawn to him in a way that made no sense, but that was the magic of TV. It made you feel close to... Sorry, the page won't turn. Come on, Kindle. People that you'd never met through familiarity and carefully crafted characters designed to make you root for them, fall in love with them, or love to hate them.
Mm-hmm.
Swoon!
Big swoon.
So, she has $34.
Yeah.
And she gives that $34 to a PA or somebody and is like, go find me something to wear at the nearest place. And they're like, what kind of thing?
What does that mean?
What? And she's just like, just go now. I have 10 minutes.
And also, how $34? Question
How?
mark.
$34? And then
In
she
New
makes
York
some kind
City?
of like $34 isn't what it used to be. I'm like, is it in LA? Like, where do you live? Space? An outfit for $34 that you can wear to a table read at a fancy Hollywood studio?
I know.
Crazy.
Anyway, she does not get that. So she
No.
goes into the bathroom to try to get the stains out if possible. And the person comes back and they're like, I tried, and hands it over and then like just sprints away because she realizes
knows.
later. Yeah. And she realizes later that like she thinks they're worried that she's either going to yell at them or ask them to trade clothes. And they're like not into either one. So they just like fuck off. So then she puts it on and she's got these teeny tiny little athletic shortses. And then this like child size medium like crop top situation.
I don't know if it's meant to be a crop top thing. It's like a crop top sweatshirt when she gets it on because it's for a child.
Yeah.
Oof.
And then her super high heels because she had been wearing wide leg slacks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And her lipstick.
Yep. So she just decides she's going to work it. She's going to go in there real confident and act like nothing's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what she does. In the meantime, Ashton places a call to his father and son. So you find out that in Puerto Rico, Ashton has his parents and his son, and they all live together and love him. But you find out he has this son and dad.
Yeah. And
Would
nobody
you like to say anything about that? Sorry.
No. Nobody knows about the son. Like, we find out a little bit that nobody knows about the son and that the dad mostly takes care of him, but it kills Ashton not to be in his life more, basically. Like, he doesn't like having to stay away, but there we are. Then he realizes, like, what a toolbox he had been when he had this moment with her. Because he was like, what the fuck was I doing? Just like handing her my coffee as if that would get her a new outfit.
Mm-hmm.
I offered to pay for her dry cleaning, but why didn't I offer to get like to buy her a new outfit right now? Like, what is the matter with me? I don't know how to people.
But also, she looks real hot in that outfit. That child size medium is looking real good.
She has got legs for years, not legs for days, everybody. Legs for years. So he's like, I'm so impressed that she comes in like just confident and whatever. She does the whole table read like a pro. He fucks up the table read once because he's like thinking about, I don't know, her legs.
Uh-huh.
And so he misses a line. And then when he like tries to save it, he knocks over another drink.
And she pops out of her chair like it's going to burn her like lava.
Yeah.
She's just like, not again!
Not this time, motherfucker!
And he's like, oh no, did it get on you? And she's like, not this time!
Yeah.
That's the best.
But she says that very quietly.
Mm-hmm.
So then they finish up the table read and he focuses or whatever. And then at the end, he wants to go like say hey to her and try to fix it or whatever. But she's talking to someone and he overhears her tell them that she spilled coffee on herself. Like she had a coffee accident. And she does not dime him out. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Then he realizes she's talking to a reporter. So he beats feet real fast out of there because he doesn't like the reporters.
A reporter. No.
Yeah.
And then he decides, he's like, she's too sexy. She's too sexy.
Too much.
I don't want to get with another co-star. It was disastrous last time that happened to me. She's too sexy. And I'm not even going to look at her unless the script calls for it.
That's right.
He's decided.
The other thing, sorry, I just saw a note. The other thing that I really, really love about this book is the amount that Alexis weaves in important things that are going on in Puerto Rico, like the really cool landmark show that this is, having an all Latinx cast. Like, she really, really does a service to the community that she's writing about, you know? And I just love that.
Yeah, because part of this backstory is like, you know, he had this child, Yadriel, and they moved, or maybe did they live in Puerto Rico when Maria hit? And then they moved.
They were living in Puerto Rico when Maria hit. So he moved them out of there. And then his dad had a restaurant there. And it's been in his home for forever. So he moved them back like afterwards. But in that like backstory, we get like, you know, the federal government was giving no aid whatsoever that Puerto Ricans were entitled to because they are citizens.
As Americans.
Yeah.
Yes.
God damn it.
So he was before working in Miami and kind of commuting every weekend to go home and see his family. And now he's in New York City, which is a little more difficult. So we get a lot of that too.
Oh, and then the other thing is we do find out that the reason that Yadriel is a secret is because when he was like a baby, Ashton, I always want to say Victor, God, Ashton had a fan like stalk him and break into his house. So he's very serious about safety and privacy. So
and also, Yadriel's mom was a soap star.
Yeah.
I don't know when we find it out, but this is the deal, okay?
Yeah.
He had a fling with one of his co-stars. She got pregnant.
Yeah.
She was cool with having the baby. She wanted to have the baby, but then she wanted to have nothing to do with the baby. So, like, the baby popped out, and she wanted Ashton to, like, pay for the plastic surgery to get her, like, back right away, which is, like, really rough.
I mean,
to get back on soaps. And she didn't want her name ever mentioned, and she just didn't want anything to do with this. So, like, that's part of the secrecy is, like, he has kind of this, like, secret quote-unquote love child that could end up in the tabloids with this lady. And then also the fact that, like, there was this stalker, and so he just doesn't want any part of that affecting his family ever again.
Absolutely. So now she wants to get his attention on set. And this is like sort of her thing because she's a middle child.
He's not paying attention to her.
Yeah.
And she's just like, yo, why won't he won't look at her and he won't talk to her?
Yeah. Do you see
like,
how sparkly I am?
Yeah. I'm great.
I'm awesome. What? Do you see how everybody like lights up when I talk to them? Come on, man. She doesn't say any of that. It's just the truth. But, and she's never felt understood by her family or like, you know, like her mom and dad and brother and sister. They've never really gotten the whole actor thing. And so she likes outside validation.
She likes attention.
Yeah. Okay.
And all the other co-stars are hanging out with her in their trailers, and they're all getting together in their trailers and playing dominoes and stuff, and he won't ever come. And they're trying to invite him out and do things, and he won't ever do anything, and he won't talk to them between scenes or anything.
Yeah.
I really liked this paragraph.
Okay.
Where she sees him walking from a scene, like, immediately back to his trailer, and it says, it was on the tip of Jasmine's tongue to call out his name. She didn't know what she'd say exactly. Do you play dominoes? No, that was a stupid question. He probably did. Why do you smell so good? No, that was totally inappropriate, even though it was true. Hey, pay attention to me. That one was pure middle child id, and Jasmine didn't want to think too deeply about where the impulse came from. So she just wants to, like, be his friend, and she doesn't know how.
Yeah.
Which, it's very relatable. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then we've got the first scene with Ashton. And he's like so sexy, and she says that she really wishes that wardrobe would help her out by making him wear, like, I don't know, a mask or a bag on his head. Like, that would be helpful.
It's distracting.
Hey, listener, there's a New England Times book by Clive Rose called Always a Princess that illuminates the lives of the Romani people. The Romani were an integral but oft overlooked and vilified part of Regency society. This fresh take depicts how the two cultures, with very different value systems, find myriad ways to coexist and to clash, and shows us that love is an act of great personal courage. Here's the description. When Captain Warwick Will Clifton offers to assist the Romani family he has injured, he's unprepared for the warmth of Romani camaraderie, and he's nowhere near ready for the force of nature that is Princess Sira Brishan. Keeping a lid on his desire for the Romani beauty takes all his self-control. A notable rake, he is well out of practice at showing restraint and finds himself asking, what is he willing to risk for love? As the eldest daughter of the Romani king, Sira's pride in her heritage is matched by her finely honed distrust of Englishmen. Captain Clifton surprises her with his affection, passion, and love. She trusts her heart, but is caught between family duty and an unrelenting desire to be with the man she loves. One reviewer said it's a dashing historical romance with a strong heroine. The vivid characters really draw you into their world. Treat yourself to this book. You'll be glad you did. I'm including buy links in the show notes, so get your copy today.
So the way this thing is written,
Yes. Talk about it.
So it's like Jasmine and Ashton, and then there'll be a chapter that's like, okay, this is Carmen and Victor, their characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then the story of Carmen and Victor kind of parallels the story of Jasmine and Ashton,
It's like the romantic subplot.
Right. And so there'll be a chapter that's just like, here's the scene, here's where we are, like it's like a script. And then it'll say, okay, Carmen walks in and Victor does this and stuff. And then sometimes you get like, it's like it's written by like a story, like it's happening right now between Carmen and Victor. But then sometimes you get weird little thoughts that they're having. So it's almost like it's their actory tracking.
It is. Okay, wait. Can I talk about it really quick?
Yeah, it seems like you really want to.
I do. I really want to. I thought this was brilliant. Okay. This served so many functions because, like, I don't know. When I first read it, I was like, oh, wow, we're just going to get like a script read. But then I realized, no, it's not a script read at all. You get everything that's been choreographed into the scene and you get all of their lines and all of that. But it also gives you this peek into what they are thinking as actors. So most of them are from Carmen/Jasmine's perspective. And I thought it was so cool because like it gave me such a competence boner. It showed them, but mostly her, being absolutely incredible at her job. It'll be like, you know, Carmen goes here and she makes a face at this guy and then it'll talk about her relationship with her ex-husband. And at one point it said something like they just couldn't stop hurting each other. And then the next sentence is, or at least that was the backstory she had come up with on her own.
Right.
So it's like, it is so cool because not only does it give the author the opportunity to show them like doing the work that we're here to do, but it also gives the opportunity to show the personal emotions and the personal baggage they're bringing to the script. It allows her to show how the script impacts their relationship. It allows her to show how it is so cool. And it takes us through the whole season. There's 8 episodes in the first season. And we get to see at least 1 or 2 scenes from every single episode. And almost like, you know, an erotica is supposed to change, like something is supposed to change in their relationship with every sex scene. This does that only through the work they're doing together. It is just, it was brilliant. It was so good. Wow. Wow.
Wow. All right. So they do well in the scene. They've recognized each other as good actors.
Yeah.
He says she's a great scene partner. Everybody loves her. And he's trying to be ambivalent toward her, but he can't because he's like drawn to her.
Right.
She asks him to go to Friday night drinks with the whole cast at the end of the week from filming of the first episode. And he says, maybe next time. I'm not going to go this weekend. And then he goes home.
Right. But she asks him that because she says that their first scene together was really, really good. But she thinks it's likely because she was supposed to be thrown off by the arrival of his character. She was supposed to be uncomfortable with the arrival of his character. And so in the future, she's worried that if they don't develop some sort of offset professional rapport, if they don't get at least a tiny bit comfortable with each other, it's going to be really, really hard to develop that chemistry on screen.
Right.
So she's like, come to drinks with everybody, you know, like just break the ice. And he's like, no, you're so
and
hot
goes
though.
Home to
No.
Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Yeah. Ashton cannot.
And it's kind of almost like he goes home, like his dad is kind of like, you don't need to come home. You know, like we're doing great. Like Yadriel's doing great. We're all good. And he's like, no, I need to be home this weekend, because he's just like trying to actively avoid the cast and Jasmine.
Well,
also,
not to mention,
son, but
yeah, he misses his son. We're starting to see a little bit of what his dad calls his paranoia. So his dad is...
Yeah, he wants to be there all the time.
Yeah. He's like, I want to be able to physically ensure my family's safety, and I can't because I have to keep them a secret. So it's a really, really tough thing that he grapples with the whole book. But I really do like the dad, because the dad is like, so are you ignoring all of your castmates still? Or like, are you trying to make some new friends? You?
Yep.
And he's like, Poppy, shut up. No, don't talk to me about that.
So then we get the next scene from the next episode, and it's like one of them is like a red carpet scene where it's like his character gets in a fight with somebody, and she's got to like pull them apart and then like cup his face and be like, are you okay? It's a very dramatic scene. And they both kind of lose their shit over it because they're like really close to each other, and it's very physical. I'm going to read this.
Yes, please.
It's terrible, Carmen. So her character, Carmen, said through a tight smile, but she didn't mean the lights or the people. She meant the closeness, the scent of his cologne wrapping around her like a comforting cloud, his hard body warm at her side. It was all so terribly wonderful. She wanted him to shift closer, to lean into him, to wrap herself in his warmth and feel his skin against hers.
Yeah.
And then in italics, it says, focus, Jasmine. And then somebody yells, cut. And she goes, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
So it's like in character, but it's also her, but it's not, but it is.
Oh, I love it.
And then it goes to him, and he's talking about through this whole fight scene. He's like very aware of her. He's really worried he's going to like hurt her because she's kind of in the fight scene because she's breaking up the fight. It's very good. It's all
it's so good.
Very good.
Yeah. And then they have the first meeting with their intimacy coordinator.
Oh, yes. Intimacy coordinator.
I would love that job.
You would be great at that job.
I would be so good at that job.
I would hate that job. I would not be good at that job.
You would hate that job. Yeah. You would run as far as you could from that job.
It would make me cringe But a lot of big shows have intimacy coordinators now. There was like a big show that was like the first one to do it, but I can't remember. But now it's like HBO has a bunch of them.
Yeah.
For
Normal People
the Deuce, which is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Insecure.
You know, the intimacy in that one is rough. Insecure. Yeah. So now it's a thing, and it's a good thing to have.
It's awesome. And I loved in this scene because, you know, the intimacy coordinator, Vera, says, like, you know, have you ever been trained in stage fighting? You know, you have a person come in to coach you on stage fighting because it's dangerous. The same thing is true for romantic scenes. You know, like they can get very, very dicey if we don't have the right kind of communication and agreement and consent.
People can get hurt.
Yes. Oh, what a great way to explain it. So, yeah, she comes in and they have the first meeting. And so she just basically talks them through the first scene to show them what the process is going to be like. And the two steps are they look at the scene and they're like, we're going to go through and we're going to get context. Like, why is the romantic moment happening? Why is this intimacy? Like, do we think it belongs here? Do we think it's gratuitous? What do we think? And so they go through all of that. And then she's like, the second and most important step is communication, because without communication, we cannot have consent. So like, then later on in the book, we see one scene where she helps them choreograph the first kiss. And it's just like you would choreograph a fight scene or blocking for how to move around on set.
Isn't that right now? Aren't we doing that now?
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah.
Well, she asks them, okay, why do you think they kiss? What's the context? What do you do you think it's important that they kiss, and why? And first she says, like, why? First she says, is there anything that you don't want, any part of you don't want to get touched? Right. All that kind of stuff. Lays all the ground rules with both of them individually. And then it's like, okay, I want some collaboration here. Why are they kissing? What's the deal? And her first question is like, why are they intimate or something like that? And like, Ashton's like, do you mean the kissing part? Like, he's very weird, very weird about it. And like, neither of them will answer, and it's very tense. And also, like, she's getting kind of like sexed up in a way. Like, she's
flustered.
getting a little, as they're talking about like all the places he's gonna touch her and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he like sees the heat in her eyes, and like he gets really kind of like flustered. And then he just like looks at her and he says he's always wanted her. He's never stopped, referring to his character. And it's hot, guys.
It's hot.
It's really hot. You guys talking about your consent ahead of time is very hot. And
is it
proven
sexy
in this book. Okay. So they choreograph that scene.
Right. And there was this moment where I would take any bonus scenes or fanfic or whatever, because this was like, I mean, it wasn't, because Vera is a consummate professional. However, there is a universe in which this kiss choreography turns into a menage. Yes.
Oh,
they talk about how intimate they are, and like how like Jasmine, it switches between perspectives, and so I don't remember who is first and second, but when it's Jasmine's turn, she's like, you know, Vera is so close. She's just like inches away from our face, and she's speaking so lowly, and she's moving her hands.
Stop it!
I'm sorry, Vera. I didn't mean to objectify you. It's just
you did.
She's so good at her job, Erin. It's a big competence boner.
In the intimacy coordinator thing is that they have to then end the scene with a closure ritual to snap them out of the scene so that it's not weird afterwards, emotionally, physically, whatever. And so she asked them to come up with their own ritual. They come up with a high five. Yeah. And I really wanted this high five to become a sad high five at some point in time. Didn't you want it to be a sad high five? You know, like sometime in the book when they're not together, but then they get to have like a sexy makeout on screen, but it is really real, but they're not together in real life. Yeah. And then they do the high five.
The saddest, most flaccid high five.
Like, didn't you want? As soon as that high five came into play, I was like, oh, that high five's going to get real sad real quick because they're not together and they just do the high five, and that's how they know.
It is really interesting because I loved that detail. I don't remember. Oh, I do remember. It's when they're actually filming the first kiss, where they have to do 17 takes because he got a text message or a voicemail from his dad being like, Yadiel fell and we have to go to the ER, and also we're getting like grandpa's cough checked out or whatever. And so he is freaking out. They have this great morning session of choreography. And I also loved the fact, I'm sorry, I'm sort of bouncing around a bit. I loved the fact that they didn't actually kiss with Vera right there. I thought that was a fucking brilliant narrative move. Mm-hmm. Because so they choreograph the whole thing, and then the director's like, oh, the crew is waiting outside. And Vera's like, I don't want to rush you, so we can stay here as long as we want. And they're both like, no, you don't make the crew wait. That's not okay. Like, you don't do that. And so they say, we've got the choreography. We're going to be fine if we just kiss on the take. And so they go off to their separate dressing rooms. And that's when he gets the voicemail from his dad. He can't get back in touch with his dad. So he's super, super worried. And then they're like, 3 minutes and you need to be filming this first kiss scene. So from Jasmine's point of view, she's like, we just had this great session where like we're connected and we're communicating, and like the choreography is going perfectly. The high five was awesome. And then they have to keep on high-fiving after the 17 takes that they have to do because his brain is gone. And like every high five was like off and they missed. And then he would like not hit her hard enough. And like it was just, you could see in the high five that they were not connected.
Are not correct. Correct. Yeah. But one of the pieces of magic in this book is that you still get to read a hot kiss scene.
Yes.
Even though our characters are not ready to be there. So it's like, I'm going to read this.
Yeah.
For a split second, their eyes met, an unspoken confirmation. Yes, this was happening. Yes, they both wanted this. And then they were leaning in, their mouths meeting in the middle and a crush of lips. Carmen sank her fingers into Victor's hair, and he fisted his hand at the back of her dress, lips pressed and nipped. Nipped? Yes. Do lips nip?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess lips nip. I was thinking like teeth nip. Anyway, lips pressed and nipped, chests heaved, mouths gasped as they shared a passionate kiss that seemed like it could go on and on forever. The silence surrounding them was deafening. The only sounds were their soft moans and breaths picked up by the boom mic above them. Their attention was 100% focused on each other, except for the nagging feeling that something was missing from this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, I got to read about a really hot kiss, but then also our characters aren't ready for that at this point in the book. And that's part of the magic of the book. It's great.
Yeah, it's
you're
great.
reading two romances at once.
Okay. It's great stuff.
All right.
Okay, so then they have to film episode 3, and it's in the kitchen. And it's like this cooking montage. No?
We're past that.
We are? Oh! Sorry.
So the cooking montage leads up to the kiss. Because remember, they're in the kitchen and she's got the apron and everything. So that's
so
done.
Sorry.
And
I love that. I'm sorry. I didn't see it.
No,
sorry.
They kind of flirted too during the cooking montage.
She did some really good flirting and he did some really incompetent responding. Like it was great stuff. Sorry.
Yeah.
They were making
like,
mofongo.
we're cooking. There's magic here. And he's like, all he can think about is his son. So, okay. So then the next scene is like, she's like, okay, hell-bent. We are going to hang out between scenes no matter what, even if he hates me. Because it seems like he just doesn't like her because he just keeps like walking away and like hiding from her. And so she's like, we're going to do this. Well, even our high fives suck.
Yeah, and she's been running lines with other castmates, and that's been really helping with their scenes. So she's like, I'm doing it. She gets in her Primas of Power group chat with Ava and Michelle, and they're like, just go talk to him. And so she picks up her script and she marches to his dressing room because she's going to ask him if he wants to run lines.
Right.
So he rushes back to his dressing room and he finds out everything is fine in Puerto Rico. Like the grandfather got some stronger medicine and the kid is just a sprain. So like we're cool. And then he finally has a moment to think and he's like, oh my God, my performance. This is supposed to be my goddamn big break as I'm 38 years old and like on the cusp of elderliness in Hollywood. And I'm fucking up my romantic hero role. Like, what am I doing? And then she knocks on the door and comes inside and he's like, oh, this has happened to me before. Interesting. I did not expect this from Jasmine, but okay, here we go. And she's like, and so he looks outside the door and she's like, oh, you don't want to be seen with me? And then she goes, oh my God, you don't want to be seen with me. Is it like, are you a McIntyre fan? Like, is that why you poured coffee all over me? Like, what's happening? And he's like, no, but that asshole seems like a dumbass. So I don't know what's going on there, but I'm sorry. Like, that was just an accident and I'm sorry. So she feels a little bit better and he comes over and he does a big, like a wrist grab comfort situation. No. Oh, no, that's after.
I don't even remember that.
Wait, no.
What I remember is she's like, hey, I was wondering if maybe like you like wanted to. And he was like, Jasmine, I do not think it's a good idea. And then she's like, run lines together. And he's like, oh, yeah, run lines together. And
he's like, run lines?
Like, what were you going to say? And he's like, I don't, no. And then she says something like, oh, were you saying that we were going to sleep together? And like, she's like incredulous. And
she like
how
jumps up out of her chair and she's like, I can't believe you would malign my character like that.
Exactly.
And he's like, no, it's just happened to me before. And I wasn't saying sleep together. I was saying practiced kissing because that's been what my co-stars say.
Because they're gonna revoke my romantic hero card. We needed 17 takes. It was embarrassing for me. She's like, wasn't it so embarrassing? And so now it's like the ice is broken. Now they're gonna run lines. They're going to talk more. It's going to be okay. She asks if he's mad at her and why he's avoiding her.
And this is where he goes over and he does the big sexy wrist grab comfort where because he's like, no, I'm not mad at you. Absolutely not. I was just preoccupied because my grandpa is sick. And he's like, I'm omitting a big thing right now, but I am telling most of the truth. So
yes,
that's what's going on.
And they tell each other their real names. Her name is Jasmine Lynn Rodriguez, and his name is Anja Louise. Oh. And I really felt that at some point in the book, like in a sexy time, she would call him Uncle. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why. And there's one time where she whispers Ashton in a very powerful way that I really felt like it was coming and it didn't.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well,
especially since she puts him in her phone as Angel Luis.
Yes. Yeah. I thought that would come back in some way, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So now we are back in Carmen in Charge. It is a scene I don't remember, so I'm going to skip it. Oh no, I do remember it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, because it's another smoocheroo. Because it's about how he knew he was a rock star, right?
Isn't and he knew that
she deserved better. Yeah, she deserved better than him, and
it is.
He always wanted her. And she says, I got it. I got it. I have it now.
Here we go. Erin, we're so good at this.
He's just like, I'm such a fuck up. I fucked up so bad. I did so much bad things. I was such a bad rock star. And she's like,
a bad husband.
Even though you were a loser, like I still wanted you. And he's like, do you still? And she's like, yes. And they do. He brings his mouth down on hers in a searing kiss.
And then he picks her up by the thighs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she wraps her legs around him. And then he puts her on a table.
He's like kissing her neck. And she's like, I believe in you. And
God.
Like, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then they get interrupted, maybe, probably. Yes. This is the one where like she has the radio and they're like, we need Victor on set.
Yeah. And then they do the high five and she's like, and that's where we get that joke from her where she's like, yeah, the best acting she ever did, because she's thinking about his hands on her thighs still.
Mm-hmm. He did that big pick her up move.
Yeah. And she's like, the best acting I've ever done in my whole life is in his dressing room, where I was like, how dare you think I was sleeping together?
Yeah, I love this line. It's like Ashton shot Jasmine a thumbs up and she grinned back, but deep down she knew she was a liar, pants on fire. In Ashton's dressing room, she'd acted all shocked and offended at the thought of them sleeping together, and she deserved a damn Oscar for that performance because there was nothing objectionable about the idea at all. Ooh. Even now, her traitorous mind couldn't stop replaying the sensation of his hands gripping her thighs. I just love how she calls herself a liar, pants on fire. I thought it was so funny. Okay.
Oh my God, this book is so funny.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it is an actual rom-com, which they're not all rom-coms, you guys. Don't get duped.
So then he asks her to go run lines at the gym at the hotel after hours.
He texts her. I don't know how he got her number, but I liked it.
He is running on the treadmill.
Yeah, he is.
He's hot and sweaty running on the treadmill.
He's got bare arms
and calves. And she comes in her very best sports bra and spandex pants. And he has to keep running on that treadmill to stop from getting a boner.
Otherwise, it's going to be Boner City, you guys.
This blew my mind. Can you be running and have a boner at the same time? Or does it prevent you? Or like how... Melody, hi.
Oh, hi.
This is Erin. Knock, knock.
Hello, Erin.
How do boners work? Like, can you... Can you be running and get one? I don't know. I'm so old in my life.
I don't know if Michael's awake, but I'm going to text him and see.
When he said he had to keep running to stop from getting a boner, I was like, oh, something I've never thought of.
Well, because you need blood flow to go to the boner. And so maybe if it's all in your other muscles and your glutes and your...
I think it's just the jostling. I feel like it's just jostling. It's too jostling.
It would be quite a jostle, you know?
Yeah.
For a big old heart on. Yeah. It's just slapping around. Oh, boy.
So they're talking about the next scene, which is a dancing scene. They're going to salsa in the next scene, and they talk about how they both know how to salsa.
Originally, he's only going to salsa.
Right,
That's
but then
the thing.
Oh, you're right.
So
but
she's
they
like,
rewrite
are
it.
you
Spoiler
excited?
alert, there's a
Yeah.
rewrite, yeah.
But so she's like, are you nervous about your dancing scene? And he's like, nervous? I'm a great dancer. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm so great at salsing. She talks about how she learned to salsa and how she learned tinikling, which is a folk dance from the Philippines. It's the thing with the like the poles.
Yeah.
And you do like the double dutch on the pole. I've seen it done, but I don't know if I pronounced it right. And I'm sorry if I didn't.
Same.
But
if you
it's
speak
like
Tagalog,
you're slamming
let
the
us
poles
know.
down and you do the
Right.
I hope that translated. Okay, and so she talks about learning how to do that. But he also talks about a very important issue where, like, telenovelas told him he could never be in the sun because his skin couldn't get any darker, and, like, this whole colorism issue.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love how she just kind of peppers these things in.
Same. I love it so much. So, okay. So she looks over at the TV because she's deleted all of her social media apps. Her cousins are handling her social media or not handling her social media. And she's like off the grid because she doesn't want to hear about all this tabloid stuff with McIntyre. But then the gym TV is on and she looks over and it's like McIntyre and then her face and like this other bitch or whatever. So she sees
her face
that
right next to that other bitch who looks just like her.
So
Ooh.
she like jumps off the treadmill and tries to turn it off, but she can't find the button. So she just like unplugs the whole thing and maybe breaks it. It was a very Melody move. and then
he does a comfort.
Yeah, he does a big comfort. And that's where they get into like the serious chats about their careers and colorism and then
going out for roles that like the roles that just say like the ethnic one or whatever, like that kind of thing, and how she got a new agent who understood her because she was biracial as well.
Right.
And anyway, it's very good.
Well, and then as he's comforting her and maybe taking a tiny peeksies down her sports bra, who knows? That's a Melody fanfic. He thinks to himself that he really wishes they were two different people in different lives where he could have a sustainable romantic relationship and she wasn't a gossip queen who would totally upend his very private life. Okay? So that's what's up.
And he offers to practice Spanish with her. I think it must come up again that she's uncomfortable with her Spanish or something.
Yeah.
But he says he's going to take time away from his very busy schedule to practice as a service to her to practice Spanish. So they go to a grocery store together to practice their Spanish, which is it's like a cute, he's pointing to different foods and being like, oh, tell me something about this food. And like, so it'll be like bananas and he'll be like, tell me something about bananas. And she'll be like, yo quiero bananas. And he's like, nope, you've told me that you like bananas. You've told me you like crackers. You told me you like, oh, that's what it is. It's like wine, crackers, and cheese or something
and
like
bread.
that.
And she's like, I do like all those things.
I do like bread, crackers, and cheese and wine. Anyway.
And then the music changes to I want to dance with somebody. And so she starts like sort of singing along with Whitney, and she starts dancing around. And then he looks at her very seriously and he says, do you want to dance with me in Spanish? And she's like, yeah, of course I will. And not thinking he's joking. But then he grabs her up and he starts spinning her all around and salsaing with her. And it's a big, sexy,
it was such a big, sexy.
Oh my
so good.
gosh. And it's also like sort of a goofy sexy too, because she's so like flustered by it and it's adorable. But then he looks over.
Some bitch in the freezer section.
God
damn freezer bitch takes her bitch freezer phone and takes a picture of them.
And so he's like, we need to be more careful. And she's like, I completely agree. And so then they pay for their items in silence or whatever and go back to the hotel because the magic is broken.
Because they're ruined
freezer
because
bitch.
of freezer bitch.
Yeah. And so then
all right,
she gets back to the hotel and she finds out that the script has been rewritten. And in the script now, Victor demands that she be her audition partner. And so she's written into the scene and she gets to dance with him now. And so she's like way excited.
Because he's in the show, Victor the Rock, he's going to be on like Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
And so that's why. So he's asked for her to be his audition partner for Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then we get a big competence boner because she's like, yeah, with soap operas and everything, you know, there are some actors who always struggle with learning their lines. There are other actors who are like great at memorization. And then there's like the third camp like me who can just like speed read like motherfuckers. And so she is really, really good at like quick changes and, you know, quick memorization, all of that. And it's a big hot. And she's really excited about tomorrow. So she shows up to the dance studio. They meet the dance people. And she's like, they're like, oh, so do you know how to salsa already? And they're like, yeah. And so they just like start dancing, and the dance people are like,
stuff on.
Yeah. And the dance people are like, oh, good. We can just like jump right into choreography. And so they dance together all day. And she is all about having his hard body pressed up against her.
The dance only lasted a few seconds before Nick turned the music off, and Jasmine's heart cried out for more. She was breathing fast when she turned to face the others, but it wasn't from exertion. Ashton had left her breathless, and he was still holding her hand. He gave her fingers the slightest squeeze and then released her, and Jasmine's treasonous heart soaked it up like it was a declaration of love.
It's so good.
Loved it.
Okay, so then she's like just on a whim, she's like, hey, do you want to rehearse more at my hotel room? And he sort of looks at her for about 2 beats, and then he's like, yes, I would.
I do want to.
And then afterwards, they're both like, this is, what are we doing?
I did it. I did a bad thing.
I did the thing. And so she starts texting the primas of power, and he's like, this is fucking amateur hour. Like, I know that I'm attracted to this woman. I know that I think she's smart and awesome and a super good actress, and just, and so he shows up at her door, and he's like about to turn around, but then she opens the door with this beautiful sunny smile, and then she's ordered them an antipasto platter.
Key to my heart.
Right?
Yes. Get me out of gym class and order me food.
It's true.
They talk about their careers and soap operas. I love this discussion of all the different soap operas and telenovelas they've been on. And they talk about like the old school telenovelas, like Mujer del Barrio and Marimar, and how, like, you know, they've come so far, but then people have impressions that it's just all these like crazy, like, you know, your twin evil brother with an eye patch, which I guess did happen fairly recently on Days,
which, like, fine, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have merit.
And that's fine.
It still has merit. It still takes talent.
And she's done the whole gambit of all the American soap operas. Like, she was on Young and the Restless. She was on the Bold and Beautiful, all these different ones. Yeah. Anyway, she talks about how much she loved Passions.
Well, I was also a Passions girl.
I think everybody our age was into Passions.
I loved it.
And it was on right after Days. And I already watched Days with my mom growing up.
What do you want from me? Of course I'm going to watch Passions. God, it was bonkers.
It was so short-lived, too. It was like not even a year, it seemed like.
Frankly, how dare they, you know? Also, that girl from, that Disney movie where she's in space. It's like Zoe in her space pants or something.
Xenon Girl of the 21st Century.
That's the one.
Yes.
It was, in fact, Xenon Girl of the 21st Century.
Yes.
She was in Passion. She was in Days, and then didn't she also go to Passions?
I thought she was on Passion. Well, I don't know. I know that she was on Days.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, maybe it was Zoe in her space. And now
she's still famous. She's married to a hockey, I think.
Oh, neat.
I mean, I'm getting a little out of my depth here, but I'm pretty certain she's married to a hockey now.
Good for her, man. She's great.
Yeah.
Zoe in her space pants like changed my childhood, you know?
Xenon Girl of the 21st Century, my supernova girl. Okay. So also he keeps on telling her that she's making him feel old, and then she calls him in Spanish like the endearment for old man. And he's like, I sort of hate that, but I also love the level of comfort it requires to like rib me in this way, you know?
And then he's like, I want this to be like the jumping point to like my actual career. I want to go to Hollywood. I want to make it big. I want to do all the things. And then she looks at him and she goes, I think that you love telenovelas. I think that you love like getting the emotional reaction from the audience. I think you love it. I think you like getting that from people. And then he goes, what reaction do I get from you? And she says, nada. And then he goes, I think you're a liar. And then knock. Oh,
he says, I, Linda. First, which is like a pretty girl or beautiful or something, you know, something close to that. But he also like sneaks in that she's pretty there. Then these bitches
fucking knock.
These cousins show up with freaking pizza and bullshit.
I mean, at least they came bearing food and wine. Yeah, this is great though because they immediately tell that he can hang. Like. They put him in weird situations where, you know, they ask him weird questions about his career and stuff. And he just like throws it. They're like, oh, yeah. And what do you do? And he's like, well, I've been a sheriff and a matador and a pirate and like all the things he's been in his telenovelas. And it's great. And then they're like, oh, yeah. And you can read the part of the sister. And Jasmine thinks like she thinks he's going to get a little ruffled and be like, no, I want to read the part of the manly dad or whatever. And instead, he just like starts taking on the mannerisms of the actress that plays the sister. And so he's like flipping his hair.
It's a lot of hair flips.
Yeah. It's so good. So they like run lines all night, cousins and all, just eating pizza. It's great. And then as he's leaving, the cousins are like, you need to ask him right now.
Ask him about Abuela's birthday.
Get over there.
Right now.
Go do it.
You do this for her.
It's so good. So then she does. She goes over and she's like, so, I was wondering if you would come over to my, you know, Abuela's birthday and blah, blah, blah. She loves you. And he says, I have not made my return flight yet. And if I'm still in New York, I would be honored to go to your Abuela's birthday. So there you go. And then
there it's done.
He like, and then he
says her name in like a sexy way. And
he does. He's like,
he says like, goodbye, sexy.
Good night,
I don't remember
Jasmine.
how, but it's a sexy.
Good night, he says. Oh, gravelly, hot, sexy mans. And then he's like, bye, bitches. And then he leaves.
So the next Carmen and Victor scene is like, there's a bunch of aminals involved and he has like a snake and he sneezes and it makes the snake
he has a big animal allergy. He's allergic to the kittens.
He does a big sneeze while he's holding a boa constrictor. And then, like, at the end of the scene, so you're tracking it with them, and then all of a sudden the character Victor starts screaming, get the snake off of me, like, and sneezing. Very funny. It was
Which
good.
is actually Ashton, because Ashton is the one who is slightly afraid of snakes and has the allergies, but they decide to keep it for the show. They think it's very funny.
Yes. So then she invites him to a karaoke night.
Erin, can I tell you something about myself?
Oh, no. No, Melanie. No, I don't want to know it.
Oh, wow.
No, tell me something. I'm sure a listener wants to know.
3 years in, and we have gotten here, have we? You are no longer inquisitive.
We've gotten from I discover something new about Melody every episode, and I can't wait to learn more, too. I'm over it. I'm done. I can't learn any more things about you. What crazy karaoke bullshit do you need to tell me?
I don't need to tell you any crazy karaoke bullshit. I just need to tell you that there is almost nothing I love more than private room karaoke.
Really?
I love a private room karaoke. It's a very...
I kind of feel like, what's the point in a private room karaoke?
I love it because you don't have to wait as long. You get whatever music you want, and you can get as drunk as you want, act a biggest fool as you want, and only your nearest and dearest are ever going to say, I can like do a splits up on the stage or like do a back bend or something, and nobody's going to think twice because they know me, you know?
Yeah. I feel like
I could come over and hump you while singing, and nobody would say
I don't
a
like
word.
that. Here are the things I don't like about private room karaoke. I feel like it takes a lot of the risk out, as you just said. I feel like there's got to be stranger risk in karaoke to make it fun. Also, I do worry that my friends like Melody will come over and hump me, which is something I don't want. And do things that are embarrassing that they wouldn't do in public, and I don't want to be a part of that.
God, harumph.
And then also, I feel like it's almost like the difference between being in like a large lecture hall and being worried the professor might call on you, and then going into like a more intimate like discussion class.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh God, if he calls on somebody, it's 1 in 10. It's a lot more, like once it goes around the room once, then it's like, Erin hasn't sang one. And if it's a whole bar, you can be like, there's lots of bitches in this bar that want to sing songs, guys. And it doesn't have to be me. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Anyway. Okay. So she invites him to private room karaoke and he accepts the invitation. And she's still like, he's probably not going to come.
But he does. She wears a sexy outfit. And he likes it. And they sing Everlasting Love together. And he sings Livin' La Vida Loca.
Oh my God.
And they are so hot.
They're so hot.
So cute together. And they are looking at each other all night.
They keep on doing like these little private touches, and she keeps on making sure he's stocked with water and wine and also Kleenex, which I thought was so sweet and nice and wonderful.
Very sweet.
She keeps on, every time she like reaches over him, he'll put his hand on her hip and he'll like brush his fingers down her arm, and she'll touch his waist when she's talking to him, or like they're whispering in each other's ears anecdotes about the songs and stuff, and it's just like palpably sexy.
And then she's like, let's go.
Yeah. There is that cast member who's super drunk and says, you guys are so cute together. Is like anything going on? And he freaks the fuck out and freezes. And she's like, what? No. That's so funny that you would say that. That's so weird. And the cast member's like, I'm so drunk, and goes away. And then she's like, hey, I'm leaving. And he says, yeah, I'll come back to the hotel with you. And then it's silent on the way home because everybody is just filled with such anticipation. And then they get a lot
of tension.
Ooh. And they get into that elevator and she hits the button for her floor and then blocks the button panel, which is, if I might say, a heffa move.
Yes.
And then she says, do you want to come up to my room? And he knows exactly what she means. And he knows that he wants that too. And so he says, yes, I do want to come up to your room. And you guys, as soon as her shaky hand gets that hotel key out, it is on TM.
It is on like you want it to be on when the two main characters get into a hotel room and close the door. It's up against the wall on. It's all the
on
time.
The dining
like
room
to get
table
the clothes on.
It's ripping
it's
clothes
lifting
off.
her up and putting her on the table. It's good. You guys, it's good stuff.
Oh my gosh,
it's good.
And she's like talking about the difference because they don't use tongue on set, but like the very first
they do use
meeting
tongue in
of
real
their
life.
Oh my gosh, and they're like, oh, it's so hot, and he's just like all over her tits. And then he says the sexiest word he possibly could in that moment, which is bed. And she's like, yes. And so he takes her over to the bed. Oh, he also says, did you wear this outfit just to drive me wild? And she says, yes, I definitely wore this outfit just for you.
I think she says maybe.
Yeah, she says maybe at first. Then she's like, okay, fine.
It's great. But then he said they're on it. And he's like, I don't want to have full-on penetrative sex with you. And she thinks her inner monologue is, don't ask why, don't ask why, don't ask why, don't ask why, don't ask why.
His inner monologue is, don't ask why, don't ask why, don't ask why.
Oh, I thought that was for her. And I thought it was really funny. Like, just please, like, restrain yourself.
No. Yeah, and she's like, okay, cool. Like, do I still get an orgasm, though? And so
a traditional
Highlander finger banging. Yeah. Well, and
with a side of jerk in it.
Wait, the other thing that I love about this book is the normalization of lube. He like starts to go down there.
I was just talking about this in the cult because there was the whole thing with the WAP, like, Shapiro nonsense.
Oh, God.
And then people were like, normalize wet pussies. And I was like, that's fine. But I feel like in romance, we've come all the way around. Like, we've definitely normalized wetness in romance.
Yeah.
Now we need to come back around and normalize lube.
Yeah, not everybody is
gets,
an Anastasia Steele, like, vagina fountain.
The faucet, Anastasia Steele vagina fountain is not everybody. And yeah, I don't think I've read lube in a romance novel for this podcast.
No, not for this podcast. Definitely not. And so
that's
he
been
just
a lot of books, guys.
puts his hand down her pants and she's like, oh, there's lube in the drawer. And so he just grabs it. No questions asked, whatever. She's also a little bit wet, like a little bit or whatever.
He says she's wet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he grabs that lube and he does use that lube. And then she like goes to grab his cock and he's like, no, I've got this. Because he wants it to be all about her. And so as he's fingering her, he puts some lube on his cock and he says like, can I just like take care of it down here? And she's like, yeah, whatever you want. Whatever you want. I'm good. And so he just basically like fingers her and humps her hip a little bit. And they both like come super hard and it's incredibly hot and it is wonderful. Wow.
It's so good.
It's so good. And I think that's where we have to end part 1.
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah. Don't worry, everybody. Part 2 is going to have like 2 super hot sex scenes. So
don't even worry about it.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't even worry about it. Wow.
All right, Erin. What is your lady love?
I might botch this because it occurred to me like halfway through when I mentioned Maria La Del Barrio. But there's a series, I think it's on Funny or Die, that goes through those old school telenovelas and breaks down like the plots from beginning to end and shows you small clips, and they are hilarious.
Yeah.
And one of them is that one. I think they do Marimar as well, but they're so funny. They're really funny. So I'm going to recommend that.
All right, cool. You know what I did recently? I did something that maybe changed quarantine. And that is I reached out to a friend who also has small children, but like we've never lived in the same city ever. And so my text literally said something like, I don't know if this is a super weird, creepy idea, but my kids are bored on the weekend without other kids here, and they need like new faces. I still want to have them meet new people or whatever. And so, do you want to set up a FaceTime date between our toddlers? And she was like, oh my gosh, that is a great idea. Let's do it. And so on Saturday, right before I started making dinner, we like set up our iPads for our toddlers, and they had a remote play date. Like did they like it? They loved it. They immediately became best friends. Ember was asking like, how far is it to your house? He was working out the logistics of getting there. He has asked me no less than 3 times when we're buying our plane tickets. Oh yeah. They played like this toddler charades game where one of them would pretend to be an animal and the other one would try to guess which one it was. Then they started showing each other all of their toys. It was so fun. So I don't know, take a chance. And even if your kid has not met this other kid, see if you can set up a FaceTime date, man. It was great.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds like you were able to make dinner without dealing with toddlers too.
I mean, I still had to be in and out, and we were both refereeing the conversation as it went.
I didn't mean that you locked him in a cage, but it seems like it was a good distraction.
It was awesome
for Ember, instead of being underfoot the whole time.
And then the phone call ended because Valor did finally get close enough to the iPad to knock the whole setup down. And then it was dinner time. So, there you go. No awkward goodbyes, just a very tiny kid end to the adventure. But yeah, that's me, Lady Love. It was great. It was so fun.
You can find us on all the places.
Yeah, guys, big merch news too. You've heard about it. Tons of new designs in our new TeePublic shop. And for you international HBs, we are on Redbubble too. We've heard that shipping is better for you international folks on Redbubble.
Yes.
And then, yeah, Instagram is at Heaving Bosoms. Not only do we do all the episode announcements and snippets and, videos and stuff, but we are also doing a lot of fun things in our story times. And I'm going live more, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And then Twitter is at Heaving_Bosoms. Our Facebook page is at Heaving Bosoms Podcast. The Facebook group is the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. Our website, where you can find all of these things and much, much more, including but not limited to the link to my new audiobook, is at heavingbosoms.com. And our Patreon. Come over to the Patreon.
Come over to the Patreon. We just did a great episode with Ushma, one of our friends in HBs, about the Indian matchmaking show that everybody watched on Netflix. We've got extras with all of our guest hosts. We just did, what's the Beast Bachelor book that you read? That's one of the...
It's called The
Ice
Bachelor
Planet
Beast.
Barbarians.
No.
Yeah, we just did that.
It is an Interstellar Brides book.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was an Interstellar Brides. Interstellar Brides.
So we do a bunch of fun stuff over on the Patreon.
Yeah.
Lots of movies.
A lot of stuff.
Anyway.
Movies. We did Palm Springs.
Yeah.
The best romantic comedy ever made.
Of all time.
Of all time.
You heard it here, folks.
Yep.
Well, actually, you heard it on our Patreon.
Yeah, you heard it. Also, we said it on the episode because it was one of my lady loves.
That's right.
So, sorry. This is not an exclusive. All right.
All right.
Keep being a
badass.
Oh, right. And love yourself as much as you love Zoe and her space pants.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Zoe and her space pants. Woo! It's a good show. That's what I'm saying.
It was a great show.
Hilary
Duff. Was it Hilary Duff? Is that who that is?
No.
Nope, that's not Hilary Duff. No, but that girl, she was on Days, though.
She maybe still is on Days, but she definitely was on Days.
She might still be.
But she also could be married to a hockey.
No, she's not still on Days. She's not still on Days. Shit. She had like a name that I know, though. Oh, no. Is Hilary Duff married to a hockey?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. Let's just click stop before it gets worse. Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.